Jake Morrison's body camera was found 14 days after he disappeared from Meridian Office Complex. What it captured explains why 3 other night janitors have vanished from the same building. Before you hear this, check if you're alone. This is what was recorded. Soft rain sounds begin. Distant thunder. October 15th, 2024, 11:47 p.m. My name is Jake Morrison, 28 years old. I've been cleaning office buildings for 3 years now. The pay isn't great, but night work suits me. No people, no interruptions, just me and the silence. Meridian Office Complex was supposed to be routine. 27 floors of glass and steel in downtown. During the day, hundreds of workers filled those offices. But at night, the building felt like it was holding its breath. Mr. Peterson, the building manager, gave me the standard tour on my first evening. Supply rooms, emergency exits, which areas needed daily cleaning. Everything was professional, straightforward, until we reached the elevators. He pointed to an old freight elevator tucked away in the corner. Its metal doors were scratched and dented, like something had been clawing at them from the inside. Company policy, Peterson said, his voice suddenly cold. Never use the freight elevator after midnight, ever. I asked why. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked away without answering. That should have been my first warning. Soft thunder rumbles in distance. For 8 nights, everything was normal. I'd arrive at 11 p.m., start on the ground floor, work my way up using the passenger elevator. The building made its usual sounds, computers humming, air conditioning cycling, the occasional settling creak. It was peaceful, almost meditative. I'd put on my headphones, lose myself in the rhythm of cleaning. 20 floors of empty cubicles and conference rooms. The passenger elevator carried me smoothly between levels, its soft chime marking each stop. But on the 9th night, something changed. I was mopping the 15th floor when I heard it, a deep, mechanical grinding that seemed to come from the building's bones. I pulled off my headphones and listened. The freight elevator was moving. The grinding grew louder as it climbed through the shaft. Up, until it stopped somewhere above me. I checked my phone, 12:23 a.m. I waited for it to come back down. It never did. The next morning, I mentioned it to Peterson. His face went white. "You're certain it was the freight elevator?" he asked, his hands trembling slightly. When I nodded, he turned and walked away. But not before I saw the fear in his eyes. Rain intensifies slightly, more distant thunder. Over the next few nights, I started paying attention, really listening to the building's sounds. The normal ones were all there. Electricity humming through the walls, air, whispering through vents, concrete and steel settling in the cool night air. But underneath those familiar noises, something else was happening. On my 12th night, I was cleaning a conference room on the 20th floor when I heard it again, that grinding sound. This time, I crept to the hallway and watched the freight elevator's floor indicator. It was moving, starting from B for basement, stopping at seemingly random floors. 3rd floor, 30-second pause. 7th floor, 30-second pause. 15th floor, pause. The pattern was too precise to be random. When it reached the 23rd floor, it stopped completely. That's when I first heard the humming. Faint at first, almost lost in the building's ambient noise. But as I stood there in that empty hallway, it grew clearer. A woman's voice, humming what sounded like a lullaby. The melody drifted down from above, echoing through the elevator shaft. The sound made my chest feel tight. My hands started to shake. I backed away from the freight elevator, but the humming followed me. It seemed to seep through the walls themselves, becoming part of the building's DNA. I rushed to the passenger elevator, stabbing the button for the ground floor. As I descended, the humming faded. But I could swear I heard something else, slow, deliberate footsteps somewhere. Above, pacing back and forth in perfect rhythm with that haunting melody. Rain continues, softer now. I didn't sleep that day. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that tune. Those soft, wordless syllables that seemed to crawl under my skin and nest there. When evening came, I considered calling in sick. But I needed this job. Had bills to pay, rent due in 3 days. I convinced myself it was just the building settling. Old pipes, electrical interference. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. The silence was so complete it hurt. The 13th night, 2:17 a.m., according to the timestamp on my body camera. I was cleaning a bathroom on the 9th floor when every light in the building died. Not just dimmed, completely dead. Emergency lighting kicked in seconds later, washing everything in that sick red glow that makes shadows dance like living things. In that blood-colored silence, the freight elevator ground to life. I crept to the hallway and watched its floor indicator, starting from the basement again, but this time the pattern was different, more deliberate, like it was following a plan. 3rd floor, pause, 7th, pause, 12th, each stop lasting exactly 30 seconds. When it reached the 15th floor, directly above me, it stopped. The humming started again, but now it wasn't coming from the 23rd floor. It was coming from right above my head. The same lullaby, but I could almost make out words in a language that sounded old, ancient. I should have run, should have grabbed my keys and sprinted for the exit. But that sound, it was calling to me, pulling me upward like invisible strings. I found myself at the passenger elevator, my finger hovering over the button for the 15th floor. The humming continued, patient and persistent. When the doors opened, the smell hit me like a physical blow. Something organic and rotten, mixed with sharp metallic scent that made bile rise in my throat. The emergency lighting flickered, casting the empty office space in stuttering red shadows. The freight elevator doors were standing wide open. I approached slowly, each step feeling like I was walking through thick water. The elevator car was empty, but the floor was stained with dark patches that looked black under the red lights. The metal walls were covered in deep scratch marks, not random scrapes, but deliberate gouges, like fingernails. Human fingernails. In the back corner sat a wooden box. It was old, maybe antique, carved with patterns that hurt to look at directly. The humming was coming from inside it, muffled but constant. My hand reached out before my brain could stop it. The moment my fingers touched the wood, the humming stopped. The silence was so complete, it felt like being underwater. Even the building's heart seemed to stop beating. Then, slowly, the box opened by itself. Inside was a photograph, black and white, edges yellowed with age. It showed a woman in a vintage nurse's uniform standing in what looked like a hospital room. She was smiling, but her eyes were wrong. Too wide, too bright, and they were looking directly at me, tracking my movement even though it was just paper. Written on the back in faded ink, Margaret Chen, night nurse, 1987 to 1991. She never left. A cold that felt like burning spread up my spine. You found my picture. I turned around slowly, my body moving like it was underwater. She was standing in the freight elevator doorway. The same woman from the photograph, wearing that pristine white uniform. Her face was pale, translucent, and when she smiled, her teeth were stained the color of old blood. "I've been waiting so long for someone to find it," she said. Her voice the same one I'd heard humming through the building's bones. 37 years, 2 months, and 16 days. She knew exactly how long she'd been waiting. "I worked nights too," she continued, stepping closer. I could see through her to the scratched metal walls behind. In the medical office on the 23rd floor, before they closed the clinic, before they sealed me in here, the smell of decay grew stronger with each word. Old death. Hospital antiseptic mixed with something that had been rotting for decades. "Do you know what it's like?" she whispered, reaching out with fingers that looked more like yellowed bone. "To be alone for so long that you forget what your own voice sounds like?" Her hand touched my shoulder, and ice spread through my veins like poison. "But now I have you." The world went black. But that wasn't the strangest part. Rain grows softer, more distant. I woke up on the ground floor at 6:43 a.m., according to my phone. I was sprawled beside my cleaning cart, still wearing the body camera that recorded everything. Sunlight streamed through the lobby windows. Morning shift workers were arriving, their voices echoing across the marble floor. Peterson found me there. Said I'd been unconscious, mumbling about elevators and photographs. "Exhaustion," he claimed. "Too many night shifts." The company was understanding, gave me 2 weeks off, transferred me to day work at a different building, but I knew what I'd experienced. I spent my time off researching. What I found made my hands shake as I typed. Meridian Office Complex housed a medical clinic on the 23rd floor from 1987 to 1991. The night nurse was Margaret Chen, age 34. She died October 15, 1991, exactly 33 years to the day before my encounter. Trapped in the freight elevator during a power outage caused by a severe storm. They found her body 72 hours later. The official report cited mechanical failure, but there were details that never made the newspapers. Scratch marks covering every inch of the elevator's interior, deep gouges from human fingernails, signs of desperate, prolonged attempts to escape. And among her personal effects, they found a wooden box containing photographs of 17 patients who had died under unexplained circumstances during her shifts. Patients who had all been found with the same expression Margaret wore in that photograph. 2 wide eyes and that impossible smile. Very soft thunder, rain beginning to fade. I still hear that lullaby. When I'm alone in buildings during my day shifts, I catch myself humming those same syllables. And sometimes in the distance, I hear the grinding of an elevator that shouldn't be running. 3 weeks ago, I drove past Meridian Office Complex. They're still operating, still hiring night janitors. The job posting looked identical to the one I'd answered months earlier. Same responsibilities, same hours, same rule buried in the fine print. Never use the freight elevator after midnight. But they still don't tell you why. They don't tell new hires that Margaret is still there, waiting with her wooden box of photographs, still humming her lullaby during those empty hours when the living world sleeps, still collecting companions for her endless night. And here's what I haven't told anyone yet. Sometimes, when I'm lying in bed trying to fall asleep, I smell hospital antiseptic on my clothes, the sharp clinical scent they used in old medical facilities. When I look in mirrors, I swear I can see scratched metal walls reflected behind me. But that's impossible, right? Because if it's not impossible, then maybe I never really escaped that elevator. Maybe I'm still there, trapped between floors, listening to Margaret's voice echo through the darkness. Maybe what I think is my new life is just another kind of dream. Maybe the real Jake Morrison died on October 15th, 2024, at 2:17 a.m. And maybe the thing that's been telling you this story isn't Jake at all. Check your reflection tonight. Look carefully. Are you sure those are your own eyes looking back? Rain fades completely, leaving only the distant sound of an elevator grinding to life. Extended silence. What would you have done differently? Have you ever worked alone at night and felt watched? Because Margaret is still collecting, still waiting, still humming her lullaby for anyone brave enough to press that freight elevator button after midnight. Are you sure you're safe right now?